Hey guys, Dr.97 again, this time with a review of the 144th scale High Grade Universal Century Zaku 3 Custom from the Double Zeta Gundam series. So for colors, we have a dark gray for the torso, skirt armor, a bit on his arms here, bottom of the feet, and that's pretty much it. Also for the thrusters. Then there's a very dark gray, pretty much black for these hoses here and there, like tiny hoses. His kneecaps, also part of his hands, a little bit here. Then we have white, well, for pretty much all the rest. And then some red touches here, and the red thrusters over there. So that's pretty much everything for colors. And on to stickers. And we can only get 2 stickers. We get one black one for the back of the eye, and then we have the eye itself. And that means, well, we're not going to have a moving mono eye, so you better make sure that that eye is centered, because it's not going to move once you stick it on. It's a little bit unfortunate, but hey, it's a pretty old kit. And those are all the stickers you get, and pretty much also all the stickers you need, because it's molded in almost perfect colors. Only a few little paint touch-ups here and there are required, mainly on the thrusters. So now we're going on to articulation, and like I already said, it does not have a moving mono eye, but this is a kit from 2000. It was one of the first high grades ever released. Well, one of the first high grade Universal Century kits, so it can kinda be forgiven. And the head goes a little bit up, a little bit down, turns around all the way. You just gotta be careful for those spiky ears and his command antenna. And come on. And there we go. The arms will turn around all the way, go up about that far, same on the other arm, about that far. Then shoulder armor here will also rotate around all the way. It's not on a ball joint, it's on a peg, so it goes up and down, not side to side. Will of course rotate around all the way. And this part here on top also goes a little bit up and down for some added maneuverability. Shoulder armor here just goes up and down a little bit, nothing too special. Also, in case you are wondering, yes, the polycaps inside there are the same size, so technically you could change them, but when I take this off, you will see that the pegs are at different angles, so they are going to look awkward. This one is straight, that one goes straight up, so they're just not going to look okay. So you will have to do a little bit of modification if you, for example, want a Zaku 3 with 2 spike shoulders, or a Zaku 3 with 2 of these interesting storage shield shoulders. Now, don't worry, the arm rotates around, elbow goes up about 90 degrees, pretty standard. Hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. But then we get to some really surprising articulation. The waist actually goes a little bit forwards and a little bit backwards, and will also turn a little bit side to side. So combined with the lower waist articulation, goes all the way like that. So it has some really unexpected articulation for what is essentially, let's face it people, a brick. Then onto the legs. Only the front skirts move. Back skirts are pretty stoic, as is the back skirt. So front skirts go up all the way like that, and they are individually maneuverable because they attach to the top instead of to his crotch piece. And the legs go forward about that far, backwards about that far, and this time they're not hindered by the back skirt but by the thrusters on the back skirt. Then the legs go out about that far, bend at the knee at about when you take it with the foot. It's only 45 degrees, but it does kind of look like it bends 90 degrees because, yeah, it's so wide. But don't be fooled, it's only 45 degrees. It is a double joint though, but you're not gonna get a lot. Also, I've already pointed this out, but once again, those are tiny, tiny little hoses right there. Then the feet, this is another point of articulation in which we lack the typical, well, what we now consider the typical Zaku articulation. The feet only go forwards about that far, backwards about that far, somewhat side to side, actually more to the outside than to the inside, unless, ooh, now that's better, and rotates all the way around. And final piece of articulation on the backpack, these thrusters go all the way up and down. Not side to side, unfortunately, unless you kind of force them, they will go out a little bit, but they're not supposed to. As far as articulation goes, I'm actually kind of impressed. Oh yeah, also goes a little bit side to side. But I gotta say, it's not the greatest articulation, but for the time, this is actually pretty decent articulation. And especially for, once again, what is essentially a brick, I'm pleasantly surprised. The only real problem is the knees. So the sad part is, this brick has better articulation than the high-grade Universal Century GUF, which is a close combat mobile suit. But yeah, articulation, nothing too wrong about it. Pretty nice. Then we go to accessories, but let's start by discussing what's already on the guy. Because some things are not what they seem to be. We have his mouth here, which is actually a beam cannon. So yeah, you'd better not let this guy spin on you, because that's not going to end well. Also, remember those separate front skirts, when they go up, they also have a little handle here, which he can hold. And even though the arms, well, as you can see, they are, oh, oops. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Let's put that back in there. Even though the arms, as you might have seen, they're always at a little bit of an angle, but he can hold them, he can hold both of them at the same time. And those are also little beam cannons. Put down there, which you can actually fire like that. And those also double as the beam sabers, but unfortunately they're not removable. A little bit of a shame, but hey, like I said, it's a pretty old kit. So if you put them like a little bit like that, then we force this in here. And there we go, now he's holding both of them. So now we're talking about the beam sabers. Let's grab them. You get two of these beams. Yeah, they're toothpicks, but I'm not going to complain too much about them. Once again, it's an old kit from 2000. You can kinda expect that. So I'm not too disappointed by it. And also gotta say, oh, come on, this hand has been some trouble now. And there we go. The beams fit in the hand really nicely. They're not going to fall out. As you can see, it's a little bit wobbly, but still, it's not going to fall out. So that's really nice. What you get is functional. And hey, you could always paint them. So let's... Alright then, the entire hand comes off. Finally, let's have another quick look at this. So we get 3 grenades here. And I don't know, is that also supposed to be a grenade? Is that supposed to be a support? Are those supposed to be 2 extra beam sabers, perhaps? Because they do look like the traditional beam sabers. Who knows? Use your imagination, I would say. And then finally, of course, what is a mobile suit without a beam rifle? Not just any beam rifle, a beam rifle with a bayonet on it. And that is something a lot more mobile suits should do. They're going into close combat all the time, so why not just have a bayonet on your machine gun, your beam rifle, because this is a beam rifle. There's so few mobile suits that do that. There's the Akatsuki that does it, that I know of. I think the Baowu does it, but those are most of the ones I can think of on the top of my head. Anyways, a bit more about this. One more point of articulation. This goes down and up. Not really sure why it does that, but it can. Also, the bayonet can move left and right. Also, because this is in a polycap, it can be removed and it can be put in the hand and it will fit. So I'm going to give this guy a lot of props for being able to hold his swords properly. So let's take the bayonet back and stick it back in the gun. Go. And we of course get a right trigger finger hand. The gun just slides in there. And it's pretty securely in there. It's a little bit wobbly, but overall it's not too bad. And because of course there is a lot of weight on the back, it doesn't tend to fall forward. Unfortunately, that means when you have it straight down, it does kinda tend to fall over. But when you have it up a little bit, it's perfect. And also this is why it's a little bit handy that you have that moving back piece. If you want the arm to be a little bit bent, it is handy because, well, then it kind of moves out of the way. It moves along with the arm. And there you have it. Yeah, out of all the things, this could have used a little bit of paint, like the hoses should have been red. Then also the bayonet should have been blue. But yeah, overall, it's a really nice looking gun. Once again, I really like the bayonet. But hold on, that's not all, because we also get a left trigger finger hand. Unfortunately, there's no real use for it other than you can make him a lefty. But really nice. Now, if only you can find a few accessories for this, that would be really sweet. I haven't tried anything with it, but what I don't like about this is the very square look of it. Well, if you can find some accessories for this, you can make this already well-armed mobile suit even more well-armed. So far the only problem is the gun does like to fall forwards a little bit when it's at, well, when it's too straight down. And I almost forgot about this little extra piece we get. It's an additional eyepiece, because of course this model kit is a remold from Mashi Marcello Zaku 3, so this is essentially useless, just an extra junk piece that was used for Mashi Marcello Zaku 3. So, as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Well, for 1,500 yen, it's definitely one of the more expensive old kits, but it's really a nice looking kit. You get the basic accessories that you need, and you get the left trigger finger hand, which is always very cool to have. So overall, I could definitely recommend this for 1,500 yen. And let's not forget, this is a very bulky machine. Not just that, when we compare him with a standard size mobile suit, such as the Gym Sniper 2 here, you can see that, yeah, it's a quite big mobile suit. Quite big, actually. So you're not just paying for how good it is, you're also paying for how massive it is. Let's now compare it to a 1/100 scale F91 kit, and look at that head height. He seems to be slightly taller than the G Cannon, and he's slightly smaller than the 1/100 scale heavy gun. So yeah, it's a really big mobile suit. And now also, let's have a look at the development line. We have the very standard Zaku 1. Then we have the upgraded Zaku 2. I mean, you can see that they're very much alike. The head is slightly different. You have a few hoses added here and there. Shoulder arm a little bit different, but overall, they're very similar looking mobile suits. And then Holy, what the hell? It's a Zaku on steroids. Pretty much. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. And finally, let's compare him with some other big mobile suits. From the same series, we have the Cubile, Elegant Bulk, and then we have the Shizrim Diaz. And one more to wrap it up, here is the Unicorn Destroy mode. And as you can see, when compared to the Unicorn, the Unicorn isn't that big anymore, nor that bulky. So, if you like bulkiness, if you like the look of the Zaku 3, this is definitely a kit I can recommend. There's nothing really wrong with it, there's nothing really great about it either. So, overall, if you like the way it looks, why not buy it for 1,500 yen? Big, bulky, good. And that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.